I'm sure by now you have all heard the phrase pot meet kettle, or its more extended version of that phrasing, the pot calling the kettle black. And that applies immensely to Laura Looney Loomer. Now, it has been quite some time since I've talked about Looney because honestly, she's not on my radar like that. Not really at all. But when she says something egregious such as this, and something that's very hypocritical or contradicting to herself, I have to say something. So Laura Loomer, as you know, she is a right-leaning, staunch conservative. She definitely has some anti-black values. I mean, she's checking off all the boxes. Like every box on that list is checked off by her. But the fact that this woman came out on Twitter and put this, and there's another post that she made, and I'm gonna go over that too. I'm like, Laura, you must be talking about yourself. You've got to be talking about yourself. Myself and various other people in the new black media have been calling out these grifters for years now. And now for some reason, these same grifters who have planted a seed in their own brain, in their own smooth brain, have come to a conclusion that they are not the grifters and that they have to call out the grifters. I'm like, why bother? If you're not going to point at yourself and call yourself out, then I don't know why you're going to call out other people who are grifting, because you're basically doing the same thing that they're doing. Y'all all have the same goal in mind, to sit up there and lie for whatever floats your boat and for whatever company or financial organization is going to line your pockets to make your life a little bit better, to make your living conditions that much more palatable to you and only you. Something about these grifters is that they are very self-serving. They are all for self, and they have no problem displaying it, but while sitting up there lying, claiming that they are doing it for the greater good. So Laura posted this up on her Twitter account where she said, "So many grifters turning on President Trump. I hope he punishes all of them." And the thing about it is, and this is how you know I don't be following Laura Loomer like that, but based on comments that I've read for people responding to her and stuff that she has said, Laura Loomer is a grifter herself. I saw a picture, someone had posted up a picture of Laura Loomer maybe years ago where she was taking a picture with Hillary Clinton. Now that's back when she had like blonde hair. Her face still looked the same. I'm telling you, that woman has a bad botch job. She on there complaining about everything else. She need to go talk to Dr. 90210 and see if she can get that fixed, if she can get it fixed. And people were calling her out then. I mean, various people have called out Laura Loomer on a lot of things, and she has basically built her platform up off of basically just flat out being a blatant liar and very contradictory and very hypocritical, much like many grifters before and unfortunately after her when they're done with her. But the fact that she's saying there's so many grifters turning on Trump, basically what you're telling me is that you are acknowledging that there are grifters over there, but you weren't saying anything when they were on Trump's side. As long as they're on Trump's side, you don't have a problem with them grifting, but when they turn on him, as she says, then that's when she wants to call out the grifting. Again, this is why I do not align myself on any side of the political aisle. Now, that's another thing that both sides have in common, is they both have some grifters. Granted, you know, the grift is different for each one, but they both have grifters where they're both self-serving and they're all out for self. What have I told y'all before? Left wing, right wing, conservative, liberal, Democrat, Republican, two wings attached to the same buzzer. And right now we're talking about the right side of the wing. And Laura Loomer is definitely a part of that, but I truly believe Laura was also a part of the left side at one point, and that's another thing about these grifters. Especially those right-leaning ones, you'll find that a lot of them were or had left-leaning values, but when they couldn't get anything out of it, then that's when they went to the right wing. If you don't believe me, look at Amala Ekpunobi. She's a prime example of that. There's digital receipts showing her a part of a quote-unquote left-wing ideology at one point, and then she switched over. And notice a lot of times when they make that pivot, they'll ask them, what made you come over to the right? What made you stop being a liberal? And then they all usually say the same thing. Oh, I saw the light. I was brainwashed by the left. No, you saw dollar signs. You saw the money you could make, and that's why you went over there. They won't say it. I'll say it. That's really what it boils down to at the end of the day. So for Laura to come out there and say or speak anything about grifting anything while she's one of the main ones, that is very hypocritical and contradictory of herself. But that's not where Laura stopped. Oh no, she has some more to say. So this is another post that Laura made on the same exact day. She says, you get to see who your real friends are in the conservative media landscape very fast. The reality is you can't make friends with them. I've learned it's best to keep everyone at arm's length. You should never be too invested with any of these people because they are very quick to attack as soon as they don't get their way. Just my advice. So let's kind of break down or try to break down line by line what she's saying. Let's start with the first one. She says, you get to see who your real friends are in the conservative media landscape very fast. The reality is you can't make friends with them. Well, here's the thing, Laura. From based on what I've read, you have no problem burning a bridge. I don't think there's a bridge constructed that has Laura Loomer's name attached to it that's complete and solid. Based on what I've read about her, both in articles or publications and on social media. Like, there's a lot of people out there that do not like Laura Loomer for a multitude of reasons. And to be honest with you, based on what everyone has said and what I've researched on her, they really haven't missed the mark with her as of yet. But see, she's not the type of person that's going to sit there and take accountability for the stuff that she says or does. She is one of the people that thinks that she's right in every aspect of a lot of things. And I'm telling you, those are some of the worst people to ever deal with. The people that think they're right and that they're never wrong. You can't talk to them about anything. They're not coachable, they're not teachable, they're not willing to learn past what they already know or unlearn anything that was not correct or anything that was inaccurate. Whatever they put out there into the universe, that is what it is. No one can tell them any different. Point blank, the end. She also ends off with saying the reality is you can't make friends with them. Well, honestly, I don't think Laura had that many friends to begin with. Again, Laura is the type of person to burn bridges. So if you are the type of person that's constantly doing that, you're not going to have friends. That's just the bottom line. She goes on to say, I've learned it's best to keep everyone at arm's length. Then she says you should never be too invested with any of these people because they are very quick to attack as soon as they don't get their way. Well, again, another pot meet kettle moment, because I will assume that Laura has done the same thing. See, again, everything that she's saying about everybody else, the grifting, the people, you can't make friends with people, you can't trust people, everything that she's saying about others can be heavily applied to her, but she will never hold herself accountable and admit out of her own mouth or even her own Twitter fingers that she is the problem. I have the strongest feeling that Laura Loomer is the common denominator of all of her issues, whether professional or personal. I just have the strongest feeling that she is, because people be clowning her. There are some people out there that will agree with her, but you know, those are typically the loyalists. But those with a functioning brain who know who she is or can see her through her knows that this woman is not to be trusted. And she'll go around and tell everyone that she should be, and that those who telling her that she shouldn't be trusted are the ones that you should not trust. Again, the infighting is real. Like, y'all should see some of the stuff that they be saying on here, and not just with her, but with others as well. I mean, Candace is getting her behind handed to her right now. And I said, but wait a minute, everything was good when she was piling on us, everything was fine, but the minute that she starts saying things that y'all don't like, now it's a problem. And that goes back to the first tweet that Laura said about these quote-unquote grifters turning on Trump. She has no problem with people grifting as long as they're loyal to Trump, but the minute that they turn on him, then now they're a problem. I just want Laura to remember that she said that. So if there ever comes a time that she turns on Trump, they can use that against her. But there's one more post that I wanted to go over, but it's not from Laura Loomer, but it actually goes into the whole thing about the grifting thing from MAGA, and it actually involves a person that I not too long ago did a Bed Bucking Hall of Shame entry on, and that is none other than Damani Felder. So if y'all forgot, Damani Felder, he was a person that I did a Bed Bucking Hall of Shame entry on. He was speaking about the Carmelo Anthony Austin Metcalf incident and saying the usual things that a grifter such as himself would typically say that we are all used to. I don't really have to rehash it. If you want to, you can go back and rewatch the one that I did on him. But this is what Damani had to say, and he said this on Juneteenth, as if he would really care about it. But he said, it's a shame, but some of your favorite quote influencers clearly just use Trump and MAGA to build their brands and now have no problem jumping ship. That was always their plan, and they executed it perfectly. There's a reason why Damani Felder, with the amount of following that he has, that at the time of me screenshotting that tweet, that it only got 16,200 views and 90 comments. And by the time I screenshotted this was hours after. It's not like I got this maybe an hour after he made it. This was probably around 8 in the 8 o'clock hour. So it was up for some time, or maybe it's just because of the time that he posted it. Many people didn't catch on to it, but that's besides the point. This is one of the most Captain Obvious posts that I've ever seen in my life. And I say that because we've been telling people that's what they're going to do. That's what a grifter does. They go over to they're basically like gypsies. They go from place to place, snatching up all the money that they can and resources that they can until they can't anymore, and they move on to the next grift. That is what they're doing. And Damani is the one to talk just like Laura Loomer, because he basically does the same thing. And shout out to KG, because he said something to me as it relates to this, and I couldn't agree more. And the thing is, what I'm about to say doesn't necessarily just only apply to Damani, but to several others, especially these black conservatives. People like Damani Felder, and I've seen his videos, they have no charisma. They're not charismatic at all. They all sound robotic. They all sound very scripted. They sound like puppets. Like nothing about them stands out. Nothing appeals to the masses. And that's because they only are in a box. And they have no problem being there. They cannot really go outside of it. They only have a social media presence within their own echo chamber. But the minute they step outside of their echo chamber, what do they have? That's why many of them are relegated and conduced to being only online. And they can't do anything else. Remember when I did that video about Tiny Terry and I inserted that clip where he was supposed to be doing this roast the turning point, and like people were only chuckling, like they weren't laughing out loud. He was the loudest one laughing at his own jokes, trying to force funny and to try to make them laugh, but nothing was funny. And that's why he has to relegate himself online to talking about people dressing up like black women, talking about them and forcing people to try to buy those dry pancakes. And none of it works. The well is drying up. The grifting well is drying up. That's just like what KG said last year on November 5th. He said the grift is coming to an end. But see, the thing is, they had a little bit more time because Trump got back in, but that time is almost up. I have a feeling by next November that MAGA is going to really dissolve. I think MAGA is going to be out of here before Trump is done with his 4 years, before 2028. That's the strongest feeling I have, and I think it's going to come at the next midterms, because you're starting to find it's crumbling now. Like, look at all the infighting that they're having. If y'all not on Twitter, you don't see it, but they're having a lot of infighting going on right now that you can see in real time that they weren't having even this time last year. Now it's so blatant, like everybody's throwing mud at each other. People's talking about each other. People are quote unquote exposing each other. And I'm just sitting back with my popcorn like I'm Michael Jackson in the Thriller video. Just chomping and smiling, watching all of this unfold, because we called it. This grift is not going to last. As a matter of fact, no grift actually truly lasts. One thing I learned in business years ago is if it's easy, it's sleazy, and grifting is one of the easiest and sleaziest ways to quote unquote come up. Some people break through the cracks and get far, but not many people do. It's not idealistic for everyone to do it, because if everyone could do it, everyone would. And Damani Felder is no different than Laura Loomer or any of those others, calling people grifters and stuff like that when they're practically doing the same thing, which is why a lot of people don't gravitate towards them as much, because they don't come up with original ideas. They don't have an original thought. They all parrot the same talking points that someone else did. Is not original whatsoever. It might as well be like another one of those endless remade or rebooted or remakes of these movies out here, because they can't come up with original ideas to save their lives. These grifters are practically doing the same exact thing. which is why I and many and several others do not take them seriously, which is why it's so easy for people like myself to come on here and do commentaries like these. It's so easy to break down when you really understand the landscape of what they're doing or trying to do, because it's already been done. Now, if this was a new phenomenon, then we were like, wow, what are they doing? How did they do this, and how did they pull this off? But we don't have to wonder anymore because it's already been done so many times. As a matter of fact, thank God for that the grift book. That grifting, that's nothing new. Grifting has been around since before our parents and grandparents were even born. It's just that it wasn't social media back then, and when they had to grift back then, they actually had to put in the legwork with their grift. But now that everyone's on social media, it's not that fact that it's so much. It is easier for them because it's faster. They don't have to put in the work in order to do it. But also on the flip side of that, because it's so easy and it's online, it's easy for people to see, and it's also easy for people to push in away from it without them feeling like they're being sold a bad dream. But that's all I have for right now with this particular commentary. Y'all let me know what y'all think down in the comments, and I will talk to you in the next one.
But wait, there's more.
Remember earlier in the video when I was focusing on what Laura Loomer said, and I said I believe, well, actually not believe, that there was a picture of her out there with Hillary Clinton where she had blonde hair. Well, look no further than this. I found the picture when I was making the thumbnail for the video. That right there, ladies and gentlemen, is Laura Loomer. Of course, she has blonde hair right here, and that is Hillary Clinton. But one thing I didn't notice at first when I first saw the picture was if you look at the pin that Laura Loomer is wearing, it says Hillary Clinton 2016. Now, why is that even more interesting? Because in 2016, who was Hillary Clinton running against for presidency following Obama's two-term run? You guessed it, Donald Trump. So now that we put that into perspective, going back to what Laura said at the beginning when she said so many grifters are turning on President Trump, I hope he punishes all of them. Laura, I have a question for you. Is this now you finally admitting that you yourself are a grifter? Because this right here tells me that, because remember, you were supporting a woman that was going against the person that you were quote unquote supporting now. So my question to Laura is, what changed between then and now? They can say it's ideology and all this and the third. I'm telling you, that's a load of crap. It is the money. At the end of the day, that is what it boils down to, is that mean green.